Most hikikomori are on some level obsessed with their room because the presentation of their room is going to be something in which they always see. Because they are always in their room, they are stuck with it. They are binded to what the identity of that room is. And inadvertently, that identity just sort of shows up like if you continually live in the same place for so long and do so many of the same things there every single day, day in and day out, eventually things are just going to pile up in a way that you individually are about. But if that's not the case, there's a sort of organization that goes all about it. There's several different ways to make your room what you want. Some people, they organize everything where they know where everything is. They organize it by categories. They organize it by colors. People will just organize stuff until they feel that it looks right and that it makes sense. But my favorite form of organization is the most unconventional one, organized chaos. You look on a board like the Hiki board on 8chan and you see these big rooms filled with nothing but trash and all these other things. You see the monitors, you see the computers, you see how these rooms are set up. Everybody in these rooms knows where their fundamental items are. Yet the room itself is covered in trash, yet the room itself looks quite dirty. But there's a sort of aesthetic to this. There's something charming about seeing these rooms just because it's filled to the brim with things to look at. It's filled to the brim with identity, with personality. You walk one step in this room and then you step on something that says words on it. You pick that thing up, it says more words on it. It's like, wow, there's a bunch of different things that I can read at once. You look all around the room, you see posters, you see games, you see computer monitors, you see all of these different things that on some level represent this person and represent the daily life of this person. Because those things are just everywhere in a mess all over the place, the density of that room immediately goes up. The amount of information you are seeing from one place immediately goes up. That's my problem with organized rooms in general, is that without the chaos element, if they're only organized, they end up being boring because everything that's similar to one another is in the same place. It's all lined up in a perfectly organized way. But in a chaotic room, the difference is that the chaos can be organized but also is still chaotic, that there's still trash all over the floor, there's still items disparagingly placed everywhere, but it is still organized because you know where everything is. Once you stop knowing where everything is, that is when the chaos becomes unorganized. Once the room feels like it isn't yours anymore, once you feel like you're out of control of your environment due to how much stuff is piling up, that is when it is unorganized. The chaos element comes from how much stuff is there. It comes from the density. But the organized element comes from knowing where all of the stuff is, from knowing where you stand within this room. And so, as someone who prefers this model of Hikikomori Den, the organized chaos type, I would like to say that many of the rooms that I've had that featured this style were organized. They made sense. They made complete sense to me. It's just that they looked chaotic on appearance, and that chaos allowed me to see this sort of density to it. It allowed me to see multiple things going on at once all over the place. Because think about it. What's the fun in just searching your room in a category of things? What's the fun of going to a bookshelf and finding books? What's more fun is noticing the books sort of disparagingly thrown all over the room. What's fun is noticing that, wow, my Hikikomori Adolescence Without End copy is sitting right next to my computer monitor because the importance of that book is just as much as my computer. What's cool is seeing the food placed all over the place and being able to just walk over to it and grab it when you're on your way to grab your PSP. What's fun is seeing all of your stuff everywhere, being able to find a specific thing that you care about with another specific thing that you care about, rather than finding a group of specific things that you care about that all match one another completely. Instead, the chaos is ranked by enjoyment. The chaos is ranked by what looks interesting. If you can make something look interesting aesthetically while knowing where everything is, that is the importance. And another thing, even though we do enjoy our time in the organizedness of these rooms, in the chaos of these rooms. Another aspect of that chaos, while organized, is just enjoying the confusion. It's just enjoying the fact that you are indulging in a room that is only yours, that you're indulging in a room that feels like you're lost within it, even though you know where everything is, even though you know where every possible thing you could want is. It feels like you're lost inside of that room because the stuff is just everywhere. It feels like you're walking through a mystery, and maybe you find a random thing that you didn't see before. Maybe something gets kicked around and you didn't see it there before, and just finding that thing in an unknown place in some way is extremely satisfying, because it's almost like a surprise when you see it in that place. And I know that goes against the entire theme of it being organized, but hey, sometimes we lose things, and it's honestly just cooler to have it in a big mess. So that's my favorite type of hikikomori room. I know hikikomoris have lots of different room types. A lot of them are actually quite cleanly. You see the images from Japan, and a lot of hikikomoris over there just have their room as a nightmare. And I do believe that at a certain point it's a bit too much, but I get so bored when I look at hikikomori's rooms and it's like just completely organized, just completely clean, nothing of interest, nothing of intrigue anywhere around. It's just, yep, standard room, standard fare. You know, the point of this lifestyle, the point of being an otaku, is that you go against the grain. You do something different than what the standard is. And sometimes the point of rebelling within the style of your own room, the point of rebelling within the design of your own room is just that. It's the fact that you're going against the grain. It's the fact that you're choosing to live a lifestyle that is, in some ways, no longer human, as Osamu Dazai would have put it, you know? You're doing something that is, for all intents and purposes, anti-human, a lifestyle that is against what most people would consider normal or okay, yet you choose to do it anyway. And I believe the room in which you live in should also reflect that the room in which you live in is also representative of who you are because you spend so much time within it. And so to make that room anti-person, to make that room against the grain, against what is normal, is also, in my opinion, a form of rebellion against the system. It's a form of rebellion against what normal life is, what normal life stands for. And I believe that there's something very beautiful in seeing these rooms and living within these rooms, that in some ways the themes that you find within all of these things can be very beautiful. It feels good. It feels good to think about. And the same thing goes with just all individuals who live in their own rooms. Like, even in the super organized ones, everything in there means something to someone. It's just that the individuality is harder to see. Like, there's individuality in everybody's room. No matter who you are, there is your individual touch in every single room that you live in. It's just that in a room that's a huge mess, there's a lot more individuality to be found because it's different. There's different things going on. There's disparate elements all over the fucking place. And every room that's unorganized, traditionally speaking at least, not organized in the sense I'm talking about, but unorganized to normals, every room that's like that is going to have 10 times more individuality than one that isn't like that, because when you see it, it's like, I could not have made this mess myself, because all of these things are just individual to what the person buys and how they manage their messes. So there's a lot more individuality in that, and so it's inherently a lot more interesting to walk into somebody's room and to notice that, hey, this person's a messy person. There's all this different stuff going on here. And then once you analyze the fact that they're messy, when you look at the kind of mess it is and the stuff that's in the mess, you begin to notice more and more about who they are as a person. That's the really fun part about rooms and where you live, is that it tells you something about the psychology of that person. For example, I love big messes. I love to organize my stuff in a way that doesn't really make sense, in a way that's kind of all over the place, but also takes advantage of the space that I have. So if you look at that, it's like, well, This person isn't afraid to get their working space dirty, and they like to have everything spread out so they know where everything is, but it isn't organized. So they don't have to jump across the room to get their papers. Their papers are just on the floor right next to their desk. Something like that. It's like you're a weird, eccentric type who's also working on a big scheme because your paper's all over the place, you know? And there are so many different things that can be derived from the individual person just by looking at those elements. Like, if you're a foodie, for example, and you've got shit tons of ramen all over the place, it's like, wow, this person's really into ramen and they're a shut-in. Like, there's just so many different things that you can get from a hikikomori din, and especially from one that is unorganized. That's why the unorganized chaos, or I keep fucking up, the organized chaos type is my favorite type. That's the type in which I'm describing in this video. That's the type in which I'm using examples for in the images that are selected here. By the way, all of these images are from the Hikikomori 8chan board, which is a great board that I love going on. The board owner of that place is also really nice. So go to that place, post there, or do something if you're one of these people. But yeah, it's a good time. Unorganized chaos. Or fuck, why do I keep saying it like that? Organized chaos. I feel like the very existence of those two words coming together is just like the dichotomousness of it is just so strong that when I say it, my brain just corrects it. And so, like, when I say it, it's like, okay, you know these two things are supposed to contradict each other, and so my brain just fixes it on its own when I'm like, no, what I mean is actually something different, this new term I've came up with. Whatever. Either way, if there's something about hikikomori rooms that you find particularly comfortable with in your time in isolation, or you just think is interesting, be sure to let me know in the comment box or whatever. I don't usually do call to actions like that because I think it's shillish and bad, but I legitimately am wondering, what kind of rooms do you like, and why do you like those rooms? Why do you like living in those rooms? Why do you like observing them? This is a discussion that I don't hear talked about much, and it's honestly one of my favorite ones to have on the internet.